going to have a look at race number 4 on the racing card, and this was the LIRR Redshaw Memorial. It was a race where we saw Amarula take the race out, a horse who'd been good enough to win a Hawke's Bay Guineas here in the past and has been placed in a red badge, and probably that's where the horse is likely to head in a couple of weeks. Watch the Space was the winner of the race last year. Scandolo returned. Deals and Heels took a lot of support in the race as well, Bevan. Yeah,
he put himself there, and he's very tough when he gets to a forward position. He hadn't won over 1,200 metres for a long period of time, but look, he shot a good turn of foot. Indecisions led up and kicked strongly. The run of the race is clearly Stratocaster over 1,200 metres. The grey you see back in the field and really making ground late, but Indecision had the run. He sat outside. He's a good, tough horse, stable favourite. He wins really, really nicely. Indecision brave, Stratocaster, outstanding.
Yeah, good to be able to see Stratocaster come back and do something like that, but look, mighty effort by Amarula, second up, of course, Aidan, off the back of that quick backup from last Saturday when beating him behind Prom Queen.
Yeah, it sure was, and afterwards Peter Mackay said that the Group 3 sprint on the final day of the carnival will be that horse's aim. Indecision will probably head there as well. It was another good run, and David Brown afterwards saying Stratocaster likely to go that way also. I think we might see Deals and Heels head more towards the Group 3 Taranaki Breeders' Stakes. Sean Mackay was on Amarula, and I know you interviewed him, and he's got a share in the horse, which we didn't even know.
I know, he left that bit out, didn't he, when I spoke to him, but you got it out of his dad. And no, it was a really nice effort by the horse, and he just got on at the right time, didn't he? He didn't ride it fresh up, but then he rode it second up, and he wasn't as surprised as I suppose we were with the $16 price.
All right, team, let's move on now to the Hawke's Bay Breeders' Gold Trail Stakes. It was a race where we saw the return of Avantage, the champion 2-year-old from last season. She drew well. She drew barrier number 1. She was able to look, a horse who was taking a spot in behind Stella Noir, who went forward in the race, Bevan, and obviously Expression was the horse who really did lay the challenge down to Avantage, but she responded.
Gee, did she dig her toes in here. She's all effort. She was a sitting duck at around about the 200 metre, mate. You thought that Expression would go on by, but she just showed what she showed us last season. She's all attitude. She's a real true racehorse. The second filly will really develop into this preparation and does have top-line Group 1 ability. And outside of that, I thought Platinum Mamzelle, who had come round them, showed a bit of zip late in that particular race. But this was a really good Gold Trail. They went to war, and the best 2-year-old in the land last season was too good.
All right, Aidan, we'll come back to you. Look, it was a race where we saw that the first and the second horse, look, been very good in the race. Look, from behind, we saw Rocket Fuel. What any other news from the runners in behind?
Well, really the first two. I think the race was really about those two, and they both might now head down to South Island to prepare for the 1,000 guineas. That will be the goal. The other real news out of the race was Stella Noir. She just she seemed to have an okay run in front, but just faded, and she'll probably be turned out for a spell after talking to Lee Thinnis, who had been in contact with trainer Tony Pike after the race. But Avantage, beautifully ridden by Danielle Johnson, and she was pretty happy, wasn't she, with her performance?
She sure was. And of course, a horse that had given her a Group 1 win last season. I just loved seeing Avantage back at the track. She was just hungry to be here. She's quite a cantankerous young lady, and you see her around at the start, and she's giving everybody a hard time. But she's a racehorse. She does her job. She's professional, and what more can you ask for?
All right, let's move on now to race number 7. It was the Fast Track Insurance over 2,000 metres, a race that we certainly can use as a bit of a guide towards the Livermore Classic in 2 weeks' time. And it was a race that was won by 5 to Midnight. He was able to come across heels. Peso's run a race at big odds, and Big Mike was the horse who was in front.
Yeah, Big Mike set it up. Peso is enormous. He's been off the track for a lot of it and kept on digging in. 5 to Midnight had all favours, third up the inside and got the right split at the right time. He's a very good stayer, and he'll head to the Livermore. Disappointments in the race. Ladies first was under pressure at the 600 metre mark, maybe just that third up with those first couple of races against her. Big Mike was brave. Monte got well back, so no real chance there for Monte, who was well backed in this particular race. And Paddy just couldn't get there really, you know, and that paid to his chances. But good horse, 5 to Midnight, and he'll go forward to the Livermore.
Yeah, Aidan, look, we saw a lot of 5 to Midnight last season through the Cups races, and looks like he is in for another good campaign once again.
Yeah, exactly. The Auckland Cup's always been his main goal, but if he can pick up these races on the way through, it'll be interesting to see what Jonathan Parks does now, because he's obviously won this race on 5 to Midnight, and he's also been the key rider of High Flyer on the way through. So he's got a choice to make there. Speaking to Paul Nelson, Peso, they'll just pick out another 2,000 metre race for him. He doesn't like to be a horse who goes to the paddock paddock, but unlikely to head to the LIRR Mole. Lisa Allpress just saying that Ladies First was maybe a touch disappointing, but the fourth up into the LIRR Mole was always going to be her main aim. Big Mike will they'll roll the dice there and head towards the LIRR Mole as well. And Authentic Paddy, just speaking to Ryan Elliott, just see the horse had no early speed, so that's not really his normal go. But Jonathan Parks was really happy with the performance here at 5 to Midnight, wasn't he, Emily?
He sure was. When he pulled up afterwards, he sort of almost, it was expected. It was just part of the parcel. And having ridden that horse fresh, he knew the improvement. And I know when you spoke to Lisa before the race, she said, he was above himself on the first day. He was really over the top. And that first up run just finished him off nicely for today.
Right, let's move on now to the Windsor Park Plate, the Group 1 over 1,600 metres. A lot spoken around Bevan in the early tempo in the race and who would come over, who would take the lead with the horse drawn out wide, and Contessa Vanessa was that horse who was able to get across. Sensible Princess got outside leader, but Melody Bell, she showed enough early zip to be able to take a beautiful spot just in behind the tempo and get off at the right time. And gee, she was the one you wanted to be on a long way from home.
Yeah, she just is a real racehorse because she can jump, run, travels back underneath Shafiq, and once you got her across heels, look, the two leading up horses have dropped right out of the race and she's just gone bang. Savvy Cope is very, very good out wide. Aberdeen has been very, very good. Windspell, good. Scott Base, maybe just wanted to see a little bit more from him. I thought High Flyer maybe just battled that last 50 metres. But the run of the race is Melody Bell's for 1,600 metres, but Savvy Cope's the one you want for the LIRR Mole.
Gee, she was held up for a few strides there as well, Savvy Cope as well, and then once she's been able to get into the clear air, she's really leaped down strongly into second position. And yes, as Aidan pointed out, with Shafiq Rusov close to the line and looking to go for a salute. And yes, anyway, I'm sure it's something we've spoken a lot about anyway, and thankfully nothing has happened there. But Aidan, any more news around this race? Obviously an eye towards the LIRR Mole. There were some horses there that were certainly making some ground. Savvy Cope, the obvious one. Windspell was good, and even our Aberdeen as well.
Yeah, exactly. So Stewart's reprimanded Shafiq for going for that salute. I don't think he quite pulled it off because he was unbalanced, and yeah, it didn't look so good at the end of that. That they are going to spell now with Melody Bell. They're not going to press ahead. Then they'll head towards the Railway, onto the Telegraph, and onto the BCD Group sprint at Tarapa as well. Of the other horses, some really nice runs. Savvy Cope, Michael Pittman, yes, LIRR Mole. Then they'll, if she can win that LIRR Mole, they'll head to the Cox Plate and take on Winks, and the Matriarch Stakes on the last day of the Carnival at Group 2 for fillies and mares, also a target there. There's a lot of horses pressing on, as we said earlier on. Lizzie Lamore, just they'll decide how she comes through the next couple of weeks, whether they make the late payment. High Flyer, yes, pressing forward. Windspell, yes, pressing forward. Shadows, Scott Base pressing forward as well. Frankie Leder will head to the Taranaki Breeders' Stakes, and yeah, we just haven't heard yet on Contessa Vanessa either, but a memorable race. But she's now dominant, isn't she, Melody Bell?
She's just stamped herself, hasn't she? It's like she's come back this preparation and everything is going her way, and she, as I think someone said when she came back in, she's just got this swagger about her. Yeah. And you've got to give full credit to Shafiq as well. He's not in his home country, and he's riding favourites in Group 1 races, and he's just cool, just a cool customer. He never panics, never, he's riding such good races, so full credit to him for what he's doing.
Yeah, exactly, and it hasn't been an easy transition for him to make, and we know that he's felt homesick and things, so for him to be coming back and winning races, but he's riding so well, he's getting those horses in the right spots. Any other highlights for you on the day, Emily?
Oh, a tough one for me. I don't get to see a whole lot. I just get to talk to the winners, and they're all excited. So I think the Group 1's always a highlight. Avantage, as we spoke about earlier, and Le Ciblier a little bit earlier on as well. That was a real highlight for me. So it's been a great day.
Yeah, and that is the beauty of our job, isn't it? We get to talk to the winners and you get to share in their excitement, boys. So on that front, it's been a great day, and we'll see you back here in a couple of weeks for the LIRR Mole.
Sounds like a plan, Aidan. What about you, Bevan? Any highlights outside of the two features?
I think Mongolian Marshall stamped himself as an X-Factor horse going forward. They rated him last prep, and she's been very good over 1,400 metres. I thought Princess Emily, in a nice little race early on, showed a little bit of zip as well as she goes forward in Guineas preparation. So clearly the two features are the two highlights, but gee, we saw some horse flesh this afternoon.
We certainly did. Nice work, Bevan Sweeney, commentator Tony Lee, Aidan Rodley, and also Emily Bosson. We'll see you back here on the 6th of October for LIRR Mole Classic Day.
Welcome to the moment. Can you feel the power? Better make a move. The clock is ticking hours. I'm about to take it all. Welcome to the moment. Have you met the thief? Do you know the killer? Have you seen my teeth?